My name is Abdullahi, and our guest today is Ahmed. Ahmed, welcome to the Elephant TV.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you for having me.
Yes, Ahmed, is it possible to tell the viewers who are you and what do you do?
My name is Ahmed Kura, Omar. I am from Northern Kenya, just like you. And I've been a development practitioner, a development worker, social worker for about 15 years. 15 years now. I've been involved in women's economic empowerment for 12 years, and I'm now switched to helping and working with the communities that I come from, my community in the North, in bringing in change through education, by providing access to education, quality education, working with communities here to just improve the educational standards, which is really one thing.
Fantastic. Thank you, Ahmed. And that just, takes us right into, some of the things that I wanted to speak to you. Less than 9% of residents of Marsabit and Samburu have high school education, and only 26% can read and write. This obviously locks families into intergenerational poverty. How do you go about changing such an entrenched systemic issue, Ahmed?
It starts with local leadership, and the local leadership is to push this idea as someone from the area in bringing in information about the importance of education and how it can make a difference in the lives of the people in Northern Kenya. You can agree with me that every other season you're talking about droughts. It's the people of the North that you're talking about. When the drought strikes, they lose their livelihoods, or the livelihoods are dwindling, and in that, families end up losing their entire herd, and that's what's happening right now as we speak. Giving them the opportunity to get into other professions or get into other entrepreneurship opportunities is the way to go, and we know the solution is education, and this is what I do through my organization, Kenya Drylands Education Fund, first by bringing in the mindset change. And that this is a way, and we have alternatives to what is already there for us that is not working, and we have so much barriers that is mostly cultural, and that our traditions believe in certain way of lives, and that education is not part of it. And we're trying to bring this by mobilizing community leaders and mobilizing local professionals to bring in and provide the information to the local people. So we do enrollment drives and mobilize communities to enroll learners in school. And which it may push me into other questions already, but that then, the question begs, what kind of schools are we bringing them into? What are the conditions of the schools? Are the schools really there? And that's where we come in also as an organization and in partnership with the government, through our donors, to either create a conducive learning environment for learners, or start completely an environment for them to actually study and access education.
Thank you so much, Ahmed. And one of the things I realized is that you have a very firm belief in education, that it is central to how the North needs to go forward. So as an organization, the Kenya Dryland Education Fund, how do you go about, engaging the government, engaging the community, engaging the donors to have that mindset change?
Number one, I think we start off with the communities that we work with. We normally have public participation forums where community members sit down first to talk about the issues, and with bias for education, we look for how we can come in as an organization instead of sitting, somewhere in Nairobi or outside the country and deciding what is good for them and what matters for these people. First, number one, we verify, despite the fact that we are locals and we come from these areas, and we know that these are the biggest issues and the biggest hurdle the pastoralist communities have to jump. We sit down with them to really verify that information. What is it that is there? What is it that is their problem? What are the solutions? And when it comes to the educational matters, then we come in. And what we do is first ensure that there's community engagement in the entire process. So I spoke to you about the enrollment drives that we do annually to mobilize communities to bring learners to school. But that is a huge hassle, because you have to clearly demonstrate to them the importance of education. That's why you bring in role models, professionals, you bring in government people to come in and motivate them to do the same. We talk about examples of successful young men and women from the area who have done so much for their families and the communities. So, and in that, then we work hand in hand with the government, because the government has the authority to maintain law, and it's every child's right to get education. So these communities don't understand, because of illiteracy, that a child's right, one of the children's right, according to the Children's Act, is that the child has the right to education, and every school-age child is supposed to be in school. So the government comes in to motivate them. So we do it diplomatically. It should be a condition for every community, but because of illiteracy, ignorance sometimes, we have to use diplomacy for them to understand. And in that, then we go soliciting for funds to create a decent learning environment. So we have enrolled learners in schools in thousands now. And in that, we've also created an environment for them to study by building classrooms, by building dormitories for girls, so that they can have a safe place for them to stay. Because when they're at home, they find themselves in situations where there's a child marriage. So someone at the age of 9-year-old is taken out of school and get married to someone else, because they get cows in exchange for every girl who's married. So you're in that situation. So you have to create that environment where if the girls join school, they can stay in school until the end of the term and go home. But the government then follows up on that child and ensuring that no one actually takes her out of school. So we built quite a number of infrastructural projects for communities to ensure that those learners are retained. So our program is called ENAT, which is enrollment, attendance, retention, and transition. And those are the pillars that we hold ourselves accountable to, by ensuring that we increase the enrollment, we increase or retain the attendance, and we make sure that there's no dropout. We ensure that there's retention of learners, and then we ensure that there's transition of learners. So transition of learners is necessitated by government projects and our projects. We have a high school scholarship program. Right now we have 160 students. We are small, but we're growing that number to a much bigger number. And we provide high school education to learners from extremely poor families who have done extremely well in the primary school. So we take them through 4 years of education and also take them to university. We are proud to mention that we even have a medicine student right now at the University of Nairobi, who's going to come back to these communities and make a difference and provide those services. We only have one surgeon in the entire Islamic constituency. We'll have a second one through our program. So we work hand in hand with the county government and hand in hand with the national government. We meet at the county steering groups, meetings where we share ideas on what we do. We avoid overlapping with other organizations so that we can have meaningful impact.
Brilliant. One of the things that is also a challenge is conflict, as well as the ongoing drought in the region now. How do you go about, in addressing that? Whenever there is drought, people move from one point to another. Whenever there is conflict, people are displaced. How do you as an organization address that in helping the learners to stay in school and continue with their education?
We do not have a direct impact on the peace issues in the area. But I've always mentioned that our programs are targeting all tribes in Marsabit County. So through education, we're trying to spread the news that we have a lot to share and to fight for. And we have learners from all tribes who meet and share quite a lot. We have a mentorship program each year, and there's a long-term solution to these issues, because with education, you can actually get rid of all this fighting that is happening. And with education, you'll have less livestock and probably have even more productive livestock that will not take you away from home. With education, we can elect good leaders who will ensure that we have services that we cannot fight for as the pastoralist communities. But in terms of the drought, it's big. Right now, as we speak, and where I am, we have not had rain since December 2020. Since December 2020, no drop of rain. And we are at a point where communities here are almost giving up. I've spoken to elders and men who have come back to the village empty-handed, have left with their livestock, probably about 50 cows, and now they're back home with nothing at all. And it's frustrating. It's frustrating. So, and for in the education front, we are working with communities in ensuring that learners are not dropped out of school, and that in quite a number of schools, we are providing school feeding program to ensure that the learners are fed and stay at school, in school, instead of following their herds out there, so that they can have nutritional gains.
Thank you, Ahmed. And finally, the county government is there now, over the last few years now, but now almost a decade. How do you work, to ensure that, you work together in a harmonious way, you support each other? How does that look at a practical level? You're right now in Ngurnet, and the county office is in Marsabit town. How does that relationship work? Because your work largely targets, communities even within the larger Marsabit County that are on the margins. How does that work practically?
I mean, the opportunity to work with professionals at the middle level is there, and engagement and support from the county government is there. But unfortunately, Abdul, you'll agree with me that the counties in the north have failed in many ways. We have 9 billion shillings to spend and to make a difference and have an impact on our people. And yet we have organizations like us doing this. We shouldn't be doing this if the county systems are working. We should not be existing, to be honest. And it's a job for me, but I'd rather see my people comfortable and have more for them through county systems than organizations that are working in the area. It's very unfortunate what is happening in Marsabit County, and engagement with the leadership, unfortunately, isn't there. The support isn't there. The blessings could be there. But at the middle level, we can get officers, we can get educational officers, ECD officers who are willing to work, but they don't have that support. For instance, the ECD educational level has been devolved to the county government, which means the county government is responsible for paying for the teachers, providing learning materials, providing food at these schools, actually building them. They've done well somehow by building schools like one classroom and not equipping it. They've completely failed in equipping them. They have brought in the teachers who sometimes stay almost a whole year without their salary. And these are the truth and the facts that are there. The school feeding program, 2019 was the last time the county government has provided school feeding program for the ECDs, for the nursery or preschool level. So it's frustrating. And as a social worker, I feel like we have a responsibility to also raise the voice on behalf of the people. But to just keep quiet and pretend like we're not doing a fantastic, we're trying the much we can, but we had the county government doing what they're supposed to do, our work will be less. But unfortunately now, all the burden is on us.
Yeah, it's almost 100 billion since the this devolution started for counties like Marsabit has received. Never mention the constituency development funds that also come, and a huge chunk, not a huge chunk, but enough chunk of that goes to education. But we have institutions and organizations like you trying to support. Thank you for everything that you do. I hope you have a good day, and I'm sure we'll find some time to come to you. You're doing a good job.
Thank you so much.
Please, thank you. Have a nice one, Ahmed.